test the audio here, make sure I'm speaking clearly. nice little throat clear to start the stream. What's up, everybody? All the usual suspects are here. All of the best people. Joey, Vic, Sep, Ogle, Hodl Potatoes, K, Stack Sats, my buddy. Plor, what's up on Twitter? Thank you for checking in there. I'm never sure if it works. I just always assume it's working, but I don't have a great way of checking unless I jump into Twitter. Thanks, Karen. I just gotta remember it's somewhat directional, and I gotta be sort of close. Problem is you get a little more sibilance, but it is what it is. It's better than people telling me, you know what, you're too low, I can't hear you. The ads are too loud. That's my bad. I know exactly what you mean. I just assume most people use like Brave or something where they don't actually see the ads. What's up, Logo? If anybody wants me to look at anything, just let me know. We're going to try to shorten the length of the stream a bit so it's not 2 hours of me rambling. So I came prepared, charts ready. But if you want me to look at anything, just let me know. What's up, Wick? Yeah, so today's Bitcoin White Paper Day. Happy Bitcoin White Paper Day to all those who celebrate. It was on this day in 2008. White paper was released. Network went live, I believe, January 6th. Is that right? Somebody, I should know this. It's either like the 3rd or the 6th. So there's like this debate, like when's like the birth. I think it's the Genesis block, but obviously this is also extremely important that this was released on the Cypherpunk mailing list. So Steven. So yeah, pretty cool day on Halloween. Always fun. We of course have election stuff coming up. This website aggregates Polymarket, Betfair, Kalshi, Predictit, and Smarkets. It's probably too tiny to see. It looks like Polymarket actually has most of the volume. There's been all these articles about wash trading and one guy betting. Okay, I said this on a video I think the other day, but Freddie from France betting on Polymarket isn't moving every single market imaginable, right? Now, there's some correlations here between Freddie from France moving some of these markets, absolutely. But let's just say one of these is manipulated. Are all of them manipulated? Maybe. That gets harder to say that. Is everything just trading off of these 5 random websites? Maybe. Or maybe the data inputs relative to what the polls are showing matter a little bit more. You know, are the polls correct? I don't know. I don't trust any of the polls. I don't know. What do I know? So it should be a fun week. There's interesting possibilities where there's some sort of tie, some sort of EC tie where it's 269, 269, and then we have this constitutional crisis, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of legal battles, and it goes to the House, and it's just that's not what we want. You know, I hope whoever wins, it is clean and it is obvious and it is clear, and we can move on. But yeah, this is where we stand. Over the past day, as of, I think we were at like 72.5 last night. That's when Trump's lead started to get trimmed. So that could be what we're seeing now. It could be just general de-risking. It could be Legacy getting angry and ripping us down, VIX rising, a lot of risk-off type behaviors, it seems like. It could be people waiting for the jobs print tomorrow to see how that pans out. Even though the jobs print tomorrow is going to be as clear as mud because you've got the longshoreman strike, you've got the Boeing strike, you've got the hurricane stuff. So it's going to be very hard to know what's actually going on because a lot of that is just like event seasonality that happened and isn't happening anymore. So are those numbers going to matter to the market? I don't know. Like there's a lot of caveats with the data for this upcoming jobs print. And of course it's pre-election, so if it's a positive print, anybody on the right is just going to say it's fake anyway, so whatever, right? But what matters the most is what the market thinks after the print, not necessarily what you or I think. We can try to game it out and do that decision tree, but that's less important. What's up, Blake? So this is Bitcoin's performance since cycle low. We are in the black here. We are where we should be, assuming this imaginary path is being followed, and thus far it has been. The one interruption here obviously is going to be next week, and hopefully not the rest of November. Hopefully this doesn't take a month to get decided. Hopefully it's clean and we can move on. But we're on course for what you'd expect, being 708 days from the low being, I believe, at the FTX blow up low, the FTX insolvency. I think that was the day. That was what, 11/11, I think. So this might be from like 11/12 or something. But we are where we should be based on what we've seen. These were also election years, by the way, right? Or in the midst of election years. So far, so good. This is basically my reasons I'm not bearish, because I'm seeing a lot of bearishness. I don't really get it. I don't understand. I think it's just a lot of people who are like, you know, why aren't we at 80 already? The ETF flows have been infinity over the past couple weeks. I'll talk about that. But I don't think it's, how should I say this? It seems a little early to call like the top. Let's see what happens after next week. Let's see what happens at 72 if we fail again. I don't know. Like you got to give this stuff time. It doesn't just happen in a day, especially when we have this huge event on the horizon. This is since halving, and we're definitely underperforming, but there's a chance we could snap to either one of these. Again, plenty of time to get moving. Typically we come to a top a year after halving, so that would be somewhere over here. You can see in 2017, we just kept going. But it would make sense if around a year after halving, we are at a pretty good level. And we are 190 days out from halving, post-halving. So we got time on that. This is the ETF cost basis. Basically what I'm looking at here is the MVRV. The best indicator for profit taking on the horizon is unrealized profits sitting in the ecosystem. So if you or I are up 100x on your trade, right, or your investment, even if you're holding out till you're dead, till your children are dead, till your children's children, ancestors are dead. Okay. Everybody has costs in their life and things that they want to do with the money. So eventually there becomes this profit-taking mentality when you're like, okay, I'm up 10x on my hodl stack. I want to buy a house or whatever. That's what we're looking at here with MVRV. So what does the Onchain data look like? What does the ETF data look like? This red line gives you the cost basis. So looking at where we are here, we're not like at dangerously high levels. You can see how high it got in March, but this is definitely something important to look at, even though most of the inflows are probably ARB related and not a net long position, whatever. None of this data, especially because I think people are like so used to the crypto side where it's clean. It's like, okay, we see the volume coming in. It's got to be this. In this case, we see the flows coming in. We see multiple billions in flows. If we just go to that, all these flows are coming in. Why isn't price doing anything? This is not a directional bet, most likely. And I certainly hope it's not a directional bet around the election odds. But what this most likely represents is arbitrage opportunities where you are longing the spot side of things. You're long via the ETF and you're short the future. And you're only here, your only job is to capture what this is, which is the premium. Premium jumped up, the trade became even more lucrative, and we saw tons of inflows. So that makes total sense to me. The hard part here is deciding how much of the inflows were directional bets versus ARB. How many of those directional bets, or how much of that directional bet is election related versus like cycle longer term, right? Because it seems odd if you're going risk off into next week that we'd see all of these. This is like what, 5 billion or something in a couple weeks. The timing is very weird if you're taking a directional bet, unless you're very sure, right? So that leads me to believe a lot of this has been an arbitrage opportunity related type activity. I don't have any comments about OI. To me, OI can go to infinity. We have ETFs. Have we ever had ETFs before? No. Wait until options get here. OI is going to go 10x this. Who knows, right? Like, it doesn't really matter until everything normalizes and we have the new normal. That's what matters to me the most. Because I know it's just stuff I see all day long. Like, oh, OI has to come down before we go higher. Why? Again, we've never had ETFs before. We've never had the types of shops with the types of money flowing into ETFs for arbitrage trades or anything like that. We just haven't seen that before. So it's easy for me to say, it doesn't matter. Clearly it matters at some point, but I don't think we'll know until the dust settles down the road. I think it's way too early to say, oh, OI is at an all-time high. This is it. Crowded trade. It's over. I wouldn't go that far. What's up, Fed? How much of the GBP weighting is in DXY? That's a good question for Wikipedia. I'm not sure. I know most of it is actually Euro. Turn up my volume, Ken. We went over this. I said it's literally, my volume is cranked. It's maxed. My mic is in my mouth. If you look on Wikipedia, it'll tell you what the weightings are. Anyway, so that's ETF flows. On-chain stuff, MVRV looks good. We're at 2.15. This again is just unrealized profits. How much unrealized profit is in the ecosystem? The minor version of this would be the Puel multiple. Basically, how fat and happy are the miners? If the miners are fat and happy, there's a unrealized profit risk there. Miners are basically neutral. They're not getting rich. They're not in major pain broadly. Clearly, some of the miners not doing so hot because hash price is way down. But on balance, on aggregate, we're not like at some warning level here. So if this was a cycle top, this would be a different looking cycle top based on the on-chain metrics than we've ever seen. So again, is it possible? Sure. Yeah, possible. Probable? I don't think so. You're basically saying it's different this time if you're telling me that this is the top, because that's not what any of the data suggests. So yeah, it's possible, but I don't think it's probable. 2-year moving average multiplier up there at 205. This is going to keep moving up. So long as price keeps moving up, the slower this goes, the better, because just like 2016, 2017, we'd have like these periods of acceleration, then we'd pull back, periods of acceleration, pull back. And the more we do that, the more you are resetting funding, you're bringing OI down, right? Stuff like that. You're rinsing the leverage out of the ecosystem over and over and over. And if people are still bullish, then they're just going to keep buying the dip, right? So this is what we want to see, this slow grind higher over time. I don't think there's anything else. Global liquidity is kind of taken a back seat recently. I haven't seen too many people talk about it. It's up, but with the dollar up as much as it is over the past 2 weeks, that's certainly hindering global liquidity. Rojogan says it's not different this time. I mean, I agree. It's not different until you show me that it is, right? So I gotta live through that to say literally nothing matters. And we have ETFs. Rainbow chart, I guess, is useful. Says we got plenty of room. We're fine, you know. Something to listen for next week is whether or not the Fed, if they end QT, which is selling assets on the balance sheet, if they end that, or if they talk about tapering QT, anything about QT versus QE, which would be positive for liquidity. QE would be positive for markets, not necessarily positive for the dollar. The reverse repo, which is like this grab bag of extra money, is sort of running out here. It's down to 200 billion. So when that runs out, they may be forced to switch from QT to QE. We'll see. But hopefully they talk about that next week. Yeah, if all the models are broken in a bad way. Possible, right? It's possible. It's possible that it's been so long. It's been 16 years, right? Since the white paper. It's been at least a decade since many people have been in the market. It's possible that we just have so much selling that cannot overcome whatever demand we might see, right? I don't know. If the chart looked more bearish, if the fundamentals looked more bearish, I'd be all about it. But I don't see that yet. If the chart looked, if this looked bearish, I'd be the first person to say, you know what? Yeah. But the problem with the Wyckoff people, or the what's another example? I don't even know. It's like you're kind of guessing a little bit. You're saying this looks like it could be distribution. This could be a top. Fine, right? But the trend metrics are not on your side for that yet. Now they would be the first ones to call it, because they're always calling it. Like they're saying this looks like distribution. Okay, fine. But are you going to take a trade on that? Are you going to sell your cold storage? Like probably not. What's your time duration here? Expectation time horizon. If we were crushing lows at 50, I'd say, yeah, you know what, guys, this one just doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. We may see that after November. I don't know, right? November could, because the election feels so binary, we could be back at 60. Even that wouldn't be terrible, because trend metrics would still be fine with that. Cloud is supportive at 60. We just kind of stalled out, right? We stalled out relative to expectations on the election so far. I don't know. Like it doesn't look bad to me. We pushed towards all-time high, and now we're waiting for certainty on any outcomes. I wanted to spend 5 minutes on MSTR because people keep asking me about MSTR. I will trade MSTR based on technicals. I've traded it fine. What I do not understand is, even in the math they present in the earnings call, BTC per share objectively is higher from most of the time periods you want to pick here, okay? Assuming this data is correct, which I'm going to assume it's correct. Is BTC per share rising in a substantial amount for me to care? No, it is not. And that may be stupid and silly, and like you can throw eggs at me and rotten tomatoes. But since 2022, we're flat on BTC per share based on this data. Now going forward, they have a projection of 3 to 6% BTC yield per share. Possible, reasonable, I don't know. There's this mix of debt and ATM and 21 million a year. Fine, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I am not on the camp that premium doesn't matter and premium can go to 10 and we're going to short squeeze and what other else things have we heard? It makes sense that this has a premium. A lot of people cannot touch leveraged ETFs, so it's an accessibility issue. There's a lot of overseas people who can't touch it. There's a lot of different types of funds who can't touch BitX or BITU or just leverage, period, right? So this is an outlet for that expression of that trade. Fine. Fine. Love it. Love it at 2x-ish. At 3x, it makes less sense. 4, 5, 6, 7, 10x, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. So anybody who says it doesn't matter, just I haven't heard why it doesn't matter. It does not make sense to me. This doesn't make sense to me. Um, if you're trading this with the expectation of a premium expansion, you're basically hoping, in a way, for greater fools to step in and say the market's super irrational; it can go to infinity. That could happen. I'm not saying it can't happen. It's just I don't. The logic does not speak to me. Okay, but I will continue to trade this based on the technicals. What I'm worried about is people who just think this is a free ride. There's no risk. Nothing bad can happen. This is up only forever. Um, Stuff that we've always heard every cycle. There's always like one main character. It was Luna. It was I don't know, ICOs. I'm not saying this is going to go to zero. I'm not saying there's a risk of it implosion here. I just think people are not understanding the trade very well because it's complex, and I would just be careful. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, it's been great. I'm glad everybody's made money. It's outperformed everything. Cool, awesome, amazing. I'm in this trade with you. Not only that, if you hold Bitcoin at all, everybody's in this trade. Everybody has to root for Saylor to succeed. Because if the opposite happens and this thing dumps and for whatever reason the Bitcoin has to be sold, that's not great. That's not great. Right? So you're not only a forced holder of this idea, but when he's the only one doing this, you better root for him because you're basically on board, you know? If you have access to BTC, isn't it always a better option than MSTR? It depends. Not everybody is a retail hardware wallet person, right? Some people in legacy accounts globally only have access to a very limited asset pool. Oh, the other thing people talk about is the NASDAQ index inclusion. Love it. I love all that stuff, right? Bring it up. But to expect at this point in time, again, that the premium is just going to expand to infinity, what you really want is you want Saylor to continue dumping this premium and buying more BTC, which I believe is the end goal of this 21 million a year ATM debt whatever offering, right? So it's like if premium high, premium low, buy BTC and keep doing it over and over again. So I love that trade. I love the idea of this thing running up with a stupid premium to like 5x. And then they come in, they TWAP shares, whatever. Fine, right? I just don't think it's as risk-free, laissez-faire. There's no bad outcomes here. We've heard this before. I've heard this many, many times. So I would just be careful. I love it. It's a great trade. It's been awesome. But be careful. That's all I'm saying. That's all I have to say. I don't know enough about the debt offering, Plur. I haven't looked over the full earnings call yet. It was like, what, an hour and a half long or something? So I haven't listened to it yet. But it has traded very technically. We talked about this MSTR versus Solana. I talked about this Adam and Eve. We talked about the cloud stuff. I was adding in July. I added again in September. Okay, that makes sense. It makes less sense here post breakout at a 3x premium to me. It doesn't mean I'm never going to touch it or trade it or whatever. So don't vilify me for that. It's great, right? It doesn't have volatility drag of the leveraged ETFs, if that's what somebody's talking about. Like there's all sorts of reasons why this is a great product, but it is a closed-end fund essentially for BTC. In a bull market, there's a premium that tends to expand on these products, just like GBTC, just like BitW, just like GDLC, just like anything ETH. Even as we sit here now, there's a lot of premiums on the Grayscale stuff, which makes no sense to me, but so that's all fine and good. But I would just be careful with thinking that nothing can go wrong, this can go to infinity, whatever. The TA is always going to be your friend. It's always going to be your friend. Shouldn't BIDU outperform MSTR from here, given the MSTR dilution? So there's a yin and the yang between the volatility drag and MSTR not having that versus the dilution. I don't know. The other variable here is you don't know when the ATM is occurring, as far as I can tell, other than just seeing it in price. That's why technicals make the most sense to me. Technicals, checking in on the premium, that's it. I don't think there's anything else to say. We can say this is going to infinity, fine, right? I don't care. Everything needs a story. There's clearly a lot of people in this trade. But if I had to guess, the next time this thing's going to pull back or pause is going to be 300, 400. That'd be my guess. Now, the alternative is, okay, Harris gets elected. It's an existential crisis for BTC. And this pulls back to like sub 150, right? I don't think that's possible, but we'll see, right? We'll see. What does the 2x premium actually mean? It means the NAV of their holdings is higher than the market cap of MSTR. Anyway, that's mstrtracker.com. That was my 5-minute rant that ended up being longer on MSTR. BTC looks fine. It's pulling back. I don't have too much to say here, and really won't have much to say until we figure out what happens next week, because it just feels like it's such a coin flip here that anything could happen. And the more uncertainty you bring into this equation, the more volatile this probably gets. That's all markets. So I still like this as a bullish breakout. This could check back to 69, which would be kind of the breakout zone. The cloud still says it's fine. There is a risk here that we get this like TKC clamp. The risk for pullback emerges at a higher probability percentage the longer we go flat, go sideways. This would be a great example of that right here. The fast moving average like caught up with price. Once we broke down from that, that was a pretty good signal that it was headed at least to the key June. So that currently that's at 63. So we're probably not going to see price be allowed to go flat that long just because the election is Tuesday, right? But it's something to watch on the downside. But we are still bullish till 60 based on the cloud. We can add the 5200 cross bullish. That's also there down there at 63. 20-week moving average also down there at 62.2. So there's tons of support all the way down to 60. If the market just gets super angry and we crush 60, then things get interesting. But I think it looks fine. Then we just wait and see. It's just a series of volatility events. Tomorrow with jobs numbers, Tuesday with the election, Thursday is the 7th, right? Yeah. So next Thursday is the Fed meeting. So it's just a lot of uncertainty coming in the next week. That's why I was a little surprised to see this breakout at all. So holding 70 would be a massive win. I'll take it. I don't think anything is super concerning to me here. Low time frames, I don't know. I don't really see anything super obvious here to me. I guess you could say there was like this measured move. We hit the zone. Now we're pulling back. I don't know. Just feels like legacy markets are angry. It's a general risk off day. That's kind of it. I don't know. I don't really have anything to add to that. I haven't seen anybody draw a rising wedge here, but I guess you could. Something like this. I don't know. To me, all that really matters is the high time frame stuff. This chart, the weekly, We're still plenty bullish on this. Even if we go sideways for another 6 months, this still looks like it wants to break higher eventually. So that's why I remain bullish on the Bitcoin. What could a DCA sell-off plan look like if we go down? I mean, if you think it's an existential issue, you're panic selling your cold storage. That's what you're doing on election day or whenever it's clear. Otherwise, I don't know. To me, there's a world where Harris is actually better for BTC because the deficit spending would be worse. Now, you could argue the regulatory clarity for Trump would be better for crypto. I don't know if it would necessarily be better for BTC. I don't believe a word that comes out of that man's mouth, so I think we're unlikely to see a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but hey, that'd be a bonus. Yeah, Royal, that target hasn't changed. That's the power law target. What else? What else on Bitcoin? I don't think there's anything else. It's just patience, you know? Like, I don't know if most of you were here for FTX to March 2024, but that also took a lot of patience with periods of time in between where the trade was very obvious, especially because of the cloud through the weekly. Up here, you don't really have the cloud. What do we have? We have the pitchfork, which looks great. Love it. We've got Bollinger Bands, which we can add here. We're trying to break out of the weekly Bollinger Bands. This is another reason why I think it's silly to say, like, oh, this is distribution. This is bearish. This is a double top. It's a double top if we go back to 55. If we go back to 55, then I get worried. But yeah, you know what? Maybe this is a top. But you got to give this thing time to play out, you know? Slime would be proud of my rising wedges. Slime would be very proud. Yeah, so the outlook hasn't changed. Look at gold and look at the gold people. Gold took 1, 2, 3, 4 years to break out. So you should feel blessed that you're seeing multiple cycles within that time frame. We've seen a bull and a bear cycle in 4 years, right? Whereas gold was consolidating that entire time. The difference is, for me, the duration of the consolidation boosts my confidence that the pattern is real. People are going to trade the pattern. The market move expectation is real. So you can size up on that, hopefully. I was super confident that this was going to break out, okay? And we've not just me, lots of people talked about this, right? So I feel similar about this BTC chart. The longer we just hang out, if we hang out at 70, 75, whatever it is, love it. Love it. Longer the better. If it takes 2 weeks, if it takes another month, fine. I think it still looks great. Still looks great. Most of the alts haven't really done much of anything. Most of them. They're down today. Sol is still range bound, but like BTC, like this chart looks really good. You show this to any non-crypto person, don't tell them what it is. They're gonna say, wow, that looks like some bullish chart pattern or cup and handle or whatever. But again, if we were like crushing 120, sub 110, then things get a little bit more interesting. But yeah, this is waiting on some uncertainty to clear, but it looks good. This is Solana. It looks good. Everything in its own way is kind of an election trade here. ETH just ranging flat, not really doing anything. You know, you can take a bet on anything that looks like this with a stop loss at a new low. Sure. It looks fine, right? But as a breakout trader, as a trend trader, I like this above 2,700. That hasn't changed in months at this point. Doge, also a Elon election trade, broke out, pulled back, needs some time. This is up, what is this up? Even from the breakout, it was up 40%. From the low, it was up 75%. I don't know if we have enough money in the ecosystem to like push all of this stuff together, right? Not yet. Not yet. Sui looks like it's setting up for a potential double top to me, but that's too early to call. That's just something to watch down the line. Needs time. Broke out 5,000%, whatever it was. Tau, same thing. Needs time. Giving a bunch back. This is just altcoin things. You've got unlocks, you've got VCs, you've got whatever else dealing with all this stuff. Say, kind of sad and flat. There's really not much that looks great here. I pulled a couple. PYTH, Pith, if I'm saying that correctly, is one of the few in my scan that still looks good even today. It's up, it's green today, whereas everything else is red for the most part. I believe this is like a chain link for Solana, right? Or a multi-chain chain link, an oracle for multiple chains. So I think this looks good. I think SHIB is another one that looks okay. Kind of waiting for the election stuff, maybe. Maybe the result doesn't matter for any of this. Maybe it's just the uncertainty that we're waiting on. Rune was another one. Still looks okay. It's in the bullish territory. You know, doesn't look amazing, but it looks better than most everything else, you know? So if you're looking for stuff. Somebody asked me about Ondo specifically. You got to be really careful about getting into these narratives with these coins. This is the RWA. We'll call it the RWA narrative. You've got to be careful that the value accrual of the narrative is baked into the token in some way. I don't know the fundamentals of the token or the tokenomics here, but based on the chart, I would guess we're not really following bullishness on the RWA narrative or whatever. We're just not seeing that. This looks like a bunch of nothing to me. Somebody asking me about Doge BTC. Doge BTC, just like the USD chart. Sure. Bullish, broke out, looks fine. Looks good. Looks good. I don't hate it. But there's really not much that looks like anything to me. At least that I want to trade. Things that I want to trade. Ray was one we've talked about a couple times. It's kind of leading. It's leading Solana, right? This is a Solana DEX token. Solana is basically down here in the range, whereas Ray broke out already. So is ETH going to wake up? Is ETH going to break 2,700? And then is the ETH ecosystem going to break up? Is the ETH DeFi restaking, staking stuff going to do well, like Lido? Yeah, I think it's just way too early to just say, we hit that target, by the way. Look at that. It's too early to just say, yeah, everything's going to be bullish. It'll work out. But again, if you want to take trades here, if you forced me to take a trade on a chart like this, stop loss is new lows, and that's it. Like, you don't think about it. This doesn't look particularly bullish to me. Definitely not on the cloud. ETHBTC is the other obvious chart to watch. That is just at lows perpetually. We're not seeing some magical bullish move here. Again, you can take a guess. You can say it's had enough pain. It's in the wheelhouse of time where it should be blah, blah, blah. You could say that, but we don't really have enough history for me to just take a guess. So you're waiting on any sign that this thing can turn around. Ideally, it's a chart pattern, a multi-month chart pattern, and previously it was a double bottom. You don't have that here. You have nothing. You have weeks of lows. Yeah, and then we got this geopolitical stuff perpetually. This kind of tit for tat geopolitical stuff. That's not helping either. Someone asking me about big time. What is your time horizon? Is my question. What was your entry? I don't know. This looks a little toppy to me on the lower time frames. A little triple toppy action. But yeah, ETH BTC does not look good. Just looking down the list, is there anything? You can always like sort by the Solana ecosystem. All this stuff is so negative. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to get deep into alts until we're sure where BTC is going. That's kind of it. There's a lot of alts giving a lot back today. As far as legacy is concerned, I'll just go through these charts real quick. Fed probability tool still pricing in a 25 basis point cut next week. So many people have said they shouldn't have cut in July or whenever the last meeting was, September. They shouldn't have cut in September. They shouldn't cut here. All right, well, that's not where the market thinks what they're gonna do. We'll see what the jobs numbers do to this probability, but it likely won't matter because we're close enough to the meeting where the market's pretty sure what they're gonna do. Trueflation well above where it was sitting. It's 2% ish, not at the 2% target, but I got way below the target. This is the real-time inflation index. It's going to bounce around a lot. Directionally, it's generally correct. And we've also seen a bump in CPI expectations since this bounced. So what we don't want to see here is anything like 2021, just runaway inflation. We do not want to see that. I think I talked about this on Sunday. I saw a bunch of these charts over the past week, but yeah, rising wedge on the S&P, that's breaking down. The VIX looks like it's trying to put an inverted head and shoulders and break up. But yeah, we've got events on the horizon. Kind of a mystery today that Roblox is up 20%. I'll take it because the whole market is basically red. This took years to consolidate. It still has a higher target. To me, it's just a wait and see game. There's nothing really to do there. Another one I got an alert on today was Twilio, which is a cloud something company. I don't actually know what they do. One of you must have told me about this because I had an alert for this, but the exact same pattern. Ascending triangle breakup. Looks good. It's above the weekly cloud. Chart looks good. There's not much else to say there. Google broke out, gave everything back. Uber broke out, gave everything back and more. SMCI. What's funny about this is I tried to take a trade to the long side up here. Got stopped out when it broke down below the cloud. And this is like a great example of paying attention to the technicals because it saved you from a lot of pain where it sits today. And just a lesson in trend metrics, right? Like this was really never bullish after it broke the cloud. It tried to consolidate a few times. The short report was in August from Hindenburg. There's been more like fraud allegations from their auditor recently. Like it doesn't look good for SMCI. So I'm not jumping in this. I'm just saying like this is what the chart has looked like. Lucid is another one I'm scanning through. This is the car company, right? EV company. think that's an all-time low today for them. Palantir is another fan favorite, crowd favorite. This hit the top of the channel, tripped the Williams fractal stop loss. So it says be careful up here for sure. Still bullish, but you know, expecting just crazy continuation here. I'd be careful on that one. Gold we talked about. I don't like this weekly candle, but gold can do gold things and just consolidate and keep going. So it looks fine. It's just the weekly candle is not happy. You know, to see the shooting star, or gravestone, doji, whatever you want to call it. Not great. Not great. Similar to like KWeb and FXCI, which I can pull up. Those also have pulled back everything. You know, so there's a lot of stuff that's like trying to break out and is giving it back. We'll see if it holds the breakout level or not. But I think collectively it's a good sign that we're seeing some of this stuff start to wake up after consolidating. So I think uranium is probably another one. Do I have a chart somewhere I can write on? URA, yeah, it broke out, it pulled back. It's still in the cup and handle territory, you know. It doesn't look terrible to take a stab here. Looks fine. Looks fine. I know a lot of people have been in that one. Is there anything else? My list, look at my list today. Oof. Just red as far as the eye can see. We can talk about miners. I don't know if any of these alts look bad enough to buy. There's just better options on a relative basis that aren't crushing lows like most of these on this list. Miners at this point have pretty much retraced the initial breakout. Miners collectively still look fine to me. It's just tough because a lot of these like IREN, you know, didn't quite reach their target if you measure this. Didn't quite reach the target and just already gave it all back. Clean Spark really hasn't broken out yet. This is probably putting in a right shoulder, so I like alerts on that at like 1240 or something. Marathon and Riot just aren't for me. I think they're too inefficient and not trading well. Haven't been for a long time. Bitfarms also, it looks okay. You know, a lot of this stuff really needs BTC to be bullish, like with certainty to do well. Cypher actually hit the target, pulled back a little bit. BT didn't quite break out yet. Hut looks okay. All of these need BTC to be bullish to actually break their levels, and we just haven't seen that yet. But for most of these, there's an obvious horizontal level, like Hive, 420, 440, whatever that is. Yeah, sure. Like, we get above there, we can talk. When I add to the IREN position, yeah, you know, I don't hate it. I don't hate it because if whoever your favorite miner is or whatever, it doesn't, just trying to draw like some sort of channel or whatever. If you like the miner for fundamental reasons and you're bullish whatever they're doing on the AI side or not doing, then yeah, why not, right? Then we have Coinbase. Oof, down 14% today. But this could also be like CleanSpark. This could just be a right shoulder, you know? So maybe set an alert at like 200, see what happens. I think the cloud is still bearish on this. Yeah. So it tried to break out. Wasn't quite ready. I just think there's better stuff to trade. It's like the 2023 trade was Coinbase and Hood and GBTC, and now I think there's just some better stuff out there. Hood is down 17% today. ETH, the leveraged ETH ETF, is interesting because it's also it's like really trying to break out, you know? So I like alerts at like 590 on that one. But it's trying. It's not like here's a fresh low and we're guessing. This has been flat for months, right? What else we got? Leveraged Coinbase is down 28% today. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah, exactly. Dorito. Coinbase down on the news of buybacks. Yeah, saggy dogs. We talked about the cup and handle possibility. That's all I can see. So if you're bearish, or if somebody's bearish, I really need them to say, here's why that's wrong, or here's where this is invalidated, or here's why that's not going to play out. Because all I can see is cup and handle. That's all I can see. Joey. Wolf. Yeah, did I pull up Wolf? I lost it. Where's my chart? Oh no. It's in the sea of stuff up here. I don't know where it went. We might be done here. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is at the end. Wolf. Yeah, Wolf is also... Where's it at? It's got a channel that looks fine. It's above the cloud. You know, I don't know. It's just tough because we're waiting for Bitcoin to do something, you know? That's the whole market is waiting for Bitcoin to break out again. So even if it goes sideways, that's still bearish for all this stuff. All this stuff just gets even more angry and says, all right, yeah, it's not the time yet. It's not the time. Anything else anybody wants to talk about, just let me know. But we're just kind of waiting. You know, you're waiting for jobs numbers, election, FOMC. It's kind of it. Just kind of waiting. And whatever this geopolitical stuff is to calm down. GTC. What is GTC? Oh, Gitcoin? What should I say about this one? What should I say? It's not for me. It's making lows not bullish. Basically looks like every other altcoin right now. MDT. Measurable data token. Just flat ranging. Things I love to see is a history of bullishness ever. A chart pattern, bullish trend metrics. So if I don't have any of that, like on PopCat, people are like yelling at me for not looking at PopCat in the YouTube comments. What's even a good exchange for that? I don't even know because it just got listed, but crypto.com maybe? I don't know. Anyway, PopCat, like it was listed yesterday. It's been months to be fair, but what am I supposed to say about this, you know? I don't know. It's done well. That's about it. That's all I can say. Think about the cup and handle gold fractal idea is gold nuked to a lower low before it resolved. Gold nuked to a lower low before it resolved. You mean here? I mean, the difference between gold and Bitcoin's handle is that gold's handle is clearly an inverted head and shoulders, whereas our handle is already declining. So we've made nothing but lower lows for months, right? So I don't know. Still looks fine to me. I'm not worried about it. Crypto is extra stupid. You know, something with the memes. Somebody mentioned that the memes are the only thing that have like regulatory approval, which is interesting thought process. It's semi-true, but I can't imagine the meme coin launches are safe entirely. But it's gone down to, I see what you're saying, Oliver, but the difference is, of course, we've only been making lower lows, right? Like we put in a low every couple months. So if you're saying we need to make a new lower low here because gold did, I would just say we've made like 6 lower lows since the beginning of the year. So why do we need to go back again? Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. It's possible. One thing we talked about last week was like, let's say, let me find a fresh chart for this. There's a planet where this is like the left half. We're in the right half now, and we've got another couple months of making higher lows. I can never find this. What is it? The like ghost candles or something? Bars pattern. You know, we've done this, and if you flip this, then we've got this left, right? Which would be a higher low and then months of more consolidation. I got nothing to say about GOAT. Again, it just launched. I don't know. It's literally a scratch off lottery ticket. I have nothing to say. Nothing. Less than nothing. I got nothing. It looks bearish. It's rolling over. That's about it. Rocket Lab. This is legacy, right? Got to turn on my crutches. Got to turn on the cloud. Well, it hit the measured move that we must have talked about at some point. So anything like this, it depends on your entry, obviously. I'm guessing most people aren't holding Rocket Lab for the rest of their life. So if you're trading this based on a chart pattern and it hit your target, you're probably taking some off the table at the very least. I even measured this generously. If we measure it from here, we're well above that target. If we measure it from here, we are slightly underneath. So let's say whatever you think, we're within the wheelhouse of expectations. The next thing I would do is go to the daily and look at the Williams fractals. Post breakout here, 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 here. So we're sitting right at a Williams fractal at 1066. So it just depends. You could always say, you know, I want to cut a piece of the position because we've hit the target based on the measured move. I might want to have a trailing stop loss on part of the position because it's basically making a lower low attempt here. And that's it, you know. So maybe you're cutting a total of 50% of the position and letting the other half just do its thing. But this doesn't look like an ad to me here, if that's what you're wondering. RVN? Like Raven coin? What about it? I don't know, bro. I don't know. This one has had issues with issuance and high inflation, just from memory. Like a lot of these, like you can guess and you can say, all right, I'll buy anything down here with the hopes that this is just gonna range, right? You could set bids on each level down to all-time lows if you really wanted to. But man, I don't know. I don't know about that one. It's bullish on zero trend metrics. The daily looks like maybe into November. Maybe. But yeah, I'd be careful with that one. Rivian? Oh, am I literally just... No, he said older Binance coin. Right? Rivian is a different... That's the EV company. Rivian doesn't look good to me. You know what looks good here is Zoom. Look at this chart. Look at this chart. It's insane. It's insane in that everybody uses this company. Whatever they're doing isn't working from a business perspective. And the chart has finally started to turn around. Another one is Peloton. Peloton has continued to look good. I don't own any of this, but we had talked about this like falling wedge thing. And I think it's just a good lesson in how long it takes this stuff to really bottom. This was 2 years, 2.5 years. 2.5 years. And this right here was a failed inverted head and shoulders. So, yeah, it looks good. Kathy's Revenge of the Ark, exactly. Yeah, so when I look at like PayPal and Zoom and Peloton, PayPal I think is also green on the day. At least it might have been at some point. I don't know. Is this even the right cloud? It's the wrong cloud. Whatever, it doesn't matter. PayPal looks great. Right? These not only are down still 75% from their all-time high, but they spent years going sideways. Plur, I've tried to use Nostr more. It's just hard for me to like post everything on Twitter and threads, and it's just hard to use multiple things. Ties Trades asking me on Twitter about the B-band at the top. Yeah, so I didn't say this in the tweet, but he was looking at Bitcoin futures B-bands, right? Where's that at? I think, was he not looking at? Was he looking at the daily? I don't know what time frame or settings he was using, but I think he was comparing this to October 2021. That's a fine comparison, but this is not a failed breakout until 4 weeks from now when we find out it's a failed breakout. We're still in the process of breaking out. Like B-bands are expanding. Bollinger Band width is expanding. You can see the B-bands here like flaying out a little bit. So it doesn't make sense to me to say this is a failed breakout yet when it literally just pushed the B-bands this week. That doesn't make sense to me. Simran's dropping in to say hi, and that is over. It's over. It's been real. Anyway, I think that's all I got for today. But yeah, I'm not concerned about this. We have a bunch of heavy hitting news on event type stuff coming up. You can at any point, it's just if we inverted this chart, right? Let's invert this chart as many people have done for altcoins. At any point you could say it's the bottom, it's the bottom, it's the bottom. It's going to reverse, right? But it hasn't, and it's at lows, the equivalent here, the inverted chart. Would I be bullish on this chart? Absolutely not. This looks like it's ready for bearish continuation. And we've looked at, you know how many alt charts look like this? Hold on. Literally almost every chart. Not Sol. Sol looks fine. Ripple, sideways, nothing. BNB actually also looks very good. I don't see anybody talking about it. But it also has this cup and handle characteristic to it. Sui broke out, fine, whatever. Say, flat, whatever. Apt looks okay. Rune, we talked about, looks fine. STX ranging, not great, but fine. Now we get into this territory of, it looks like we want to make some lows here on ICP, ADA, AVAX. Link looks okay. DOT. Does this look bearish to you or bullish? Now, if this looks bullish to you, then the BTC chart probably looks bearish to you. That's my point. If we're making lows, I'm bearish. If we're making highs, I'm bullish. Matic, are you bullish Matic here? Are you bullish this chart? Somebody tag Schmitty and ask him if this is bullish. I should invert this chart. Ask him if it's bullish. So yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's fine to be contrarian, but that logic doesn't track with me personally. Anyway, all the rest of this stuff just looks kind of tragic. Render, so much for the AI trade. IMX, Filecoin, Flow, ETC. There's just not enough. There's not enough money to push 10,000 tokens higher. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Give me a like, dislike, all that fun stuff. Have a good Halloween. Watch out for the razor blades in the candy. And we'll catch you Sunday for